Mariela me dices 1, 2, 3, we're on. Bienvenidos. Welcome, everyone, to the Institute of Hispanic Culture of Houston. I'm Mayte Sera Weitzman. I'm president of the Institute of Hispanic Culture today, and I'm your moderator. I am so honored to be here with these amazing women. Thank you for joining us from your homes. Actually, should have taken this off first. In celebration of International Women's Day, today we have a very special program for you. We have diverse leaders who have forged a way in life and who are here to share not what the world thinks we should be, but as women who support each other. Before we delve into this incredible program, I'd like to thank Carmen Herrada, our DEI Diversity Inclusion Committee Chair, and she is also our President-elect for 2022. Under her leadership, this wonderful program will enlighten and engage you. I'd like to thank our past President Yolanda for joining us, Escarle Silva. As you can tell, we're big about women, and to a very special person who has come into the Institute's life and has brought wonderful initiatives, DEI initiatives, and manages this committee together with Carmen, Mariam Haddad. With that said, we're going to go on an incredible journey. We will have 2 round tables with amazing women. The first one will focus on self-confidence and communication. These incredible speakers each bring us unique experiences of vast knowledge. It'll be a bite-sized capsule of 5 minutes, so pay attention. Stay with us. I guarantee their perspectives will be very enlightening. So for our first round table, I'd like to introduce Escarle Silva, Lisbeth Janelle, and Mariela Camarillo. They represent from Generation Z and Y to baby boomers, from the inside out. So, with no further ado, I begin this remarkable discussion with our past president, our beautiful and brilliant Escarle Silva.
For having me here today, and thank you for organizing this event. So, now that we have the microphone issue out of the way, I would like to tell you a little bit about my background. I have a marketing degree and a minor in management at the University of Houston. I am originally from Venezuela, and I came to this beautiful country for 6 months to study English. I go back to Venezuela, and now I stay here 22 years after. And my experience has been very interesting because I come from a small city in Venezuela called Maracaibo, and had a great opportunity to come to this country and experience the real American dream. And at the moment, I own a MedSpa, which has given me the opportunity to learn how to empower women or men into feel more self-confidence. Because one of the interesting issues that I see is that sometimes we as a women sabotage ourselves. We look ourselves at the mirror and we say, we cannot do this, so I don't feel confident about this, or I don't think I can do that. So many people that come to me at the spa come not only because they want a treatment, they're looking for something that will boost their self-esteem, where they have people in the skin and they don't feel confident, and sometimes that people is something that they only see themselves, nobody else sees about them. So when they come to me and they start talking about, okay, they want to feel beautiful, they want make yourself noticeable. I realize that it's more the way that it feels. And my job beyond doing treatment at the spa is more about how can I empower this person? How can I make sure that this person, when they leave, they feel that it's all in their mind, that they can achieve anything they want. All they want to do is just set the goals and get a thought on how they're going to achieve those goals. So, to me, if I need anything today, a message to all the ladies is that we are powerful, and we have to surround ourselves around powerful people that will help us enhance our self-esteem and will guide us to work towards those goals. Because sometimes we think that why you are so fortunate because you get this and I don't do work and I don't get there. And we don't realize that we come from different backgrounds and we have different experiences in life and we have different ways that maybe she's looking at me and she's saying, thinking the same about me. Why does she have achieved this? And we not really do here to inspire her. So many times I see the other lady and we think she's so successful and I'm not. Think about that she may be thinking the same about you, how successful you are because you have achieved things that for her can be a dream. So for me, coming from Venezuela, being able to get a degree in the United States, that's a dream. Something that I could not achieve coming from a family that none of them have gotten an education or much less left the country. And I always wanted to do it. And I bought a book, learned English on my own, and managed to be here. It's a long story, but it's for another day. I came here, and one day when I said I want to start a business, I didn't know what to do. I started thinking about what is my passion? What I love to do. And I love beauty. And when I say beauty, I don't mean about putting makeup or hairdo. I think that we look beautiful when we get up in the morning. But that beautiful feeling comes from being happy with who you are. In myself, I'm happy helping other women, happy helping everybody around to make the best out of themselves. So I think that when we discover what we are passionate about, we are able to help other people. So, Mayte, is there any question you would like to ask me about my background and how we do it?
Yes, Escarle, when you came to this country, what was your biggest challenge? Being, I have to say, a beautiful woman from Venezuela. Did you have any struggles with people taking you seriously?
I think the biggest struggle was, and that was 23 years ago, I think about the bush. The biggest struggle that I had was my accent. People didn't understand me, and I thought I was speaking English, and they were like, no. And my first experience was to Subway sandwich place, and I don't know if you've been there, but I went to order a sandwich, and they were, why wait? Why wait? Why a week? I didn't understand. They were asking for the bread, and I was thinking, and they don't understand me. And like that was all the things I got to order, the ham, the cheese, and I realized how I don't speak English, and now I realize, no, the place where I was, they have a different accent, and they were not used to people, Latino, that would have an accent. 23 years later, being Latino is something fun, sexy, excited. So the other guy, they did all the work for us. They have the Latino accent up there. So now when I talk to people, they say, no, you have such a beautiful accent. So I think that was my biggest challenge, getting people to understand me because of my accent.
Thank you, Escarle. Thank you very much. Like I said, they're just bite-sized capsules because we have a jam-packed, incredible group of women. Lisbeth Janelle. Lisbeth she takes us all the way from the oil rigs to the yoga mats. So Lisbeth, share with us your capsule of knowledge for this incredible day that women are listening.
Sure. Okay. Just checking. Sure. Yes, I was asked to speak today about And my experience was 10 years in oil and gas, as a female in oil and gas, all over the world. My last locations were Singapore and Dubai. And throughout that time frame, I realized that I always felt like I had something to prove. I was working myself to the bone to always feel like I had something to prove, especially as a female in the industry. And I burnt myself out completely. And I discovered mindfulness and yoga and a different perspective that really shifted everything for me. And I decided I still love the work I did in oil and gas and in corporate, but now I needed to come back and help people who were struggling the same way I did. And what that struggle was really not having the internal confidence to really showcase who I was. When I first graduated college, I asked a female in the industry, what do I need to know to be successful? And she said to me was, don't get old and don't get fat. And I took that story on as my own. And throughout my career, my thyroid went out, I gained 100 pounds, and I no longer saw worth in myself because those were the stories that I replayed in my head. And we all have these internal stories. We all have it, many people call it imposter syndrome. Really what it is it's a protective mechanism that we take on to stay safe. And so to stay safe, I got quieter. I shifted back, I hid, and I just worked hard and thought I could keep proving myself the whole time, but really I wasn't going to be able to show up until I fixed those thoughts in my head. So what mindfulness does is it allows you to step back and observe those thoughts and realize that those thoughts came on from stories, whether it's, and I want to recognize other marginalized populations too, the stories that come about by how we're raised and what we deal with in society and the things that we're told sometimes aren't our own story. And what mindfulness allowed me to do was step back and observe those stories and go, okay, I call it my inner mean girl. If you've seen Mean Girls, Regina George, she's my inner mean girl. She's a bully on my shoulder. She's the one that says, you can't do this, you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not this enough, you're not that enough. And we all have those you're not enoughs that come up in our heads sometimes. And it's this voice that's trying to keep us safe. And mindfulness allowed me to make friends with that voice and say, I know that you're trying to keep me safe, but that's not what's needed right now. What's keeping me safe isn't allowing me to show up fully as myself. So I made friends with this voice in my head, and I learned to love it. And then in turn, I learned to love myself. And I learned to love everything about me and shed the stories that weren't mine and be able to really speak again, find my voice. If you had heard me a few years ago, even physically my voice was gone. When I met Carmen here, she can attest, I had a very, I still have kind of a raspy voice, but to the point where sometimes I couldn't even speak. And as I found my own confidence, that actually went away as well. As I started making friends with this bully and going, that's not my story. That's not my story. So mindfulness really allowed me to step back and observe and then choose for myself what my story was.
And you did that on your own?
I did that on my own with a lot of help and support from training, and I've spent probably over 1,500 hours teaching this, working in this, training in this, and really learning so many different modalities. So I actually went back and got a master's degree in positive leadership strategy and transformation from IE Madrid, actually. And that actually dug me much deeper into the positive psychology aspect of how to observe this and how mindfulness actually impacts business. And what that showed me is I wasn't alone, that this impacted far more executives and far more people in the workplace than I ever realized. I was not alone. That imposter syndrome didn't just belong to me. And so it was with a lot of help, a lot of training, and a lot of, I'll be very, very honest, dark times exploring why do I even have these thoughts and stories that aren't my own. It can be really, really hard. But coming through it on the other side is just so worth it.
Thank you for sharing. I have a few seconds left.
Yeah.
In your sharing, is there a book, an article, or something that we can recommend? This is a very short capsule, but that's a topic. Anyone who saw the interview last night with Oprah and Megan, we were thinking about health,
Yeah.
many things in that
delve into those topics?
I always seek out people taking time or tell people to seek out time with themselves. And the pandemic has really allowed people to sit still with themselves. And some people have realized that they can't sit still with themselves. And so there's tons and tons of books and tools, and The Untethered Soul is one that is a beautiful book about observing the thoughts and the perspectives that we shape on ourselves. That is a beautiful book, but what I really encourage people to do is spend time with yourself. Even if that's sitting down with yourself and talking to yourself in the mirror. Even. I do a lot of mirror work, and that's
Great
a
advice.
very powerful practice.
Thank you. Wonderful advice. And we go to the youngest person on our panel, which I love that we have many generations here. And in this case, Mariela Camarillo. Tell us a little bit about yourself and give us your capsule of knowledge for the audience today.
First of all, thank you so much for having me, and Lisbeth and Escarle for sharing your story. Lisbeth, something that actually struck a chord with me when you were talking about imposter syndrome. So I am a first-generation American, a product of Mexican immigrants. So growing up, it was hard trying to find my place in society. You know, I would go to Mexico, and they would tell me, you're not from here. And I would come to schools here, and they would tell me, you're not American. So developing all of those internal crises made me feel like an imposter. I felt like I didn't belong anywhere, and I struggled with self-confidence for a long time, and it's something that I'm still trying to learn as I enter these new aspects of society that I have no one to look up to teach me the way, right? So I think something that I really learned throughout my educational career was there was nobody that looked like me that was a role model. There was no leader to tell me, oh, you're valued, your perspective is valued. So that's why I decided to go into teaching, because I wanted to be that role model for my students, right? To be that bilingual teacher and be like, oh, this is a Latina, she looks like me, she went to college, she was able to do all of these things that I aspired to do. And I think that that's what really built my self-confidence, because I was able to be the role model to kids that I didn't have growing up. And now that I'm navigating business school, right, I didn't have anybody to teach me how to do that, and I'm like learning all of these things on my own, and I'm learning that my perspective is valuable, and everybody has different ways of life, and mine is maybe not the typical that you see in American society, but I can still be that role model for other students and lead the way for other people that look like me, that grew up like me, to also have a place and have a seat at the table. They're no longer gonna be the people that are on the menu, they're gonna be the people that are on the table. Which is a quote that somebody said to me, and that really, really struck a chord for me. Yeah.
So you're a rice fella. That's
Yes.
pretty impressive. How did you get there if you from those humble beginnings?
For sure. I think the biggest thing the biggest reason why I am where I am today is because of my parents, right? They came from humble beginnings. My dad didn't even get to high school. My mom had a high school degree, but they didn't have the financial means to be able to do anything in Mexico. That's why they decided to come to the US. And as a little girl, they always emphasized the value of education, right? Education is the way in which you can have opportunities that we never had. So when I was in school, you would always see me, like during lunch, I was reading books. I was always trying to better myself because I knew that I wanted to fulfill the dreams that my parents weren't able to fulfill, and they were sacrificing so much for me to be able to do that. So every decision that I've made in my life always roots back to my origins and to my people, and to be able to be the example for my parents as well.
That's wonderful. I think we have a minute or two left. What inspired you the most? When you did find that Latina,
Yes.
that shared that with you, that you said, there she is. I can follow her footsteps. What did you learn the most when you did find that?
When I finally found Latina role models.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just being able to have conversations with people that understood where I was coming from, right? I think so many times in these conversations that I've had with people in leadership, they don't really understand my background. So just being able to be like, oh, like you understand the Mexican roots, the traditions, the language, the culture, and being able to be a person that has all of that, but also is trying to make it in America, that I think that was the biggest lesson, just being able to have people that you can identify with.
Thank you very much. This power panel is going to take a 1-minute break so we can switch for the next roundtable. Thank you, ladies. Stick around. Thank you.
Carmen, van a ponerle el spray a
¿Tienes tu micrófono?
No,
¿Sí?
sí.
La voy a llamar. Mariela, estamos como en pausa, ¿verdad?
Ay, no, perdón. No, perdón.
So our next panel, our next roundtable panel, and I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. If you got to see us behind the scenes, well, this is all part of it. It'll all get edited and cleaned out later. But I would like to bring our next power panel, which will be communication, your superpower. And I'd like to invite Adriana Calhoon, CEO of AC Media, and she's a board member at the Institute of Hispanic Culture of Houston. Mariam Haddad, she is part of the DEI Council and CEO of the Performance Communication Company. She's going to share with us how to be heard. And lastly, our own Carmen Herrada, who came up with this event, this concept. She's going to talk to us. She's also a board member of the Institute of Hispanic Culture of Houston, and she's a partner with Stanton Chase. She's a DEI diva, I would say. And she's going to talk to us about servant leadership. So ladies, you have a 5-minute capsule. If you run out of time, I'll ask you questions, but if you have what you're going to say ready, we're going to start with Adriana Calhoun.
Well, hi everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. And it's talking about communication. Why I'm engaged with the communication? Because it's the only way, really, we can change life. It's the only way, really, we can be better, like a community. The way to communicate is not everybody have the key. It's only be yourself. Be proud of the way you are. Be proud of your roots. And enjoy the conversation. I don't know if you want to talk about my story, but I think talking more. I have 35 years in the media. I have 35 years in this blessing work. And I'm not telling story. And really that's the most blessing I can have in my career. Because I'm the person can share.
I think we need to switch microphones. Sorry.
I'm the person I can share the stories for the people that are not available to share that stories. You know, it's goal for the people need more. That people, they don't have the microphones. That people, they need support. And what I really like in my career and what I learned in these 35 years is be open all the time to learn new things. New things like new culture, new language, new way to see the life, and respect that. And I make a little notes because I wanna, they ask me about, well, what is the strategy to communicate? It's no strategy. It's only be you. Pay attention about how is the environment you are around. And like I say, be yourself, respect yourself, be proud of your roots. Doesn't matter if you don't speak perfect English or perfect Italian or perfect Spanish. They will respect you, try. What is not correct is don't try. Or stop yourself because you are scared. Use that feeling to be better and to learn and be ambitious to really go and fight for the next step. And the other is research. You cannot go someplace and don't research what you will talk or the person you will interview. Research. Not because you want to pretend you know everything in the world. It's because you will have a better and rich conversation with that person or with that community. Another is enjoy the conversation. All the time we make a note. Oh, points, copy points, perfect. Because everybody want to be perfect. We are not perfect. Let the conversation start and let the conversations go in the way you are the only person who will direct that conversation. But really, the person you will interview or with your audience, the audience you will reach, think about what they want to know. No, it's about you. It's about them. It's about your audience. And talking about the audience, how you can prepare for the audience? Well, first is what you will say, how you will say, when and where. All that facts are important. Another is, you can write this case, but target. You need to know your audience. If you don't know your audience, you will lose the attention for them. Cultivate strong interaction, honor community work, learn and improve. Learn about your audience. Improve. It's like okay, it's time to clap. Why? Because everybody starts to be a little tired. Stand up and enjoy and move. And I will do it right now. What do you think about that? What did you enjoy more for having a conversation with somebody you don't know? Learning. Exactly. That is the way. You need to engage with your audience. They need to be part for what exactly you are saying. But don't try to be perfect. That is the key. Don't try to be perfect. Doesn't matter if you look good or not look good, or be ready for something will happen. Be open for change. But the more important is never stop. Always keep doing. Doesn't matter. It's in this time was not the best presentation you had. Guess what? The next one will be, because you already learned something here.
Thank you. No fair, right? She's had 35 years of experience, showed us how to do it. Thank you, Adriana. And next, please, Miriam. I want to tell you something. Miriam can sing in Mariam. Miriam is my mother's name, and Mariam is Miriam, actually. But I love that you can sing in 9 different languages. And she's an opera singer, so wow, how amazing. Please share with us your capsule de información.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here, and I want to say Happy Women's Day. It's a beautiful day to celebrate all that we are and embrace all that we don't think that we are. We're always, in a sense, becoming. So I resonate with all of the stories that everybody has told so far. You are probably wondering, well, Haddad, that doesn't sound like a very Latin name, and you're right, it's an Arabic name. My family is Syrian. I had the wonderful good fortune to grow up on the border of El Paso and Juarez. So like Mariela said, she grew up feeling that she didn't really have a place. I grew up as the kid that was told she was Arabic, but in school they said, oh, well, you're not American and you're not Mexican. I was actually the minority. I was always like, hey, güerita, that was walking down the hall. So as a result of that, yes, I did shrink. I was quiet, but I found my voice in music, both as a concert pianist and eventually as an opera singer. And I loved that. It was the place that I could express all that I was inside, but without words, especially at the piano. And you know, it was interesting. I remember when the light switch went off at 16. I was practiced for a year to go to a piano competition, and all of a sudden everything was gone. And I said, how can that be? Practice doesn't make perfect. But the thing that had happened was I had one of those stories that Lisbeth had spoken about, and it was called, Why Would Anybody Want to Listen to Me? And it was the singular saboteur that impacted my life that I had to work years to reduce, to finally become friends with and to love, and to finally rise and say, people want to listen because I have something of value to share. And that's the key point that I want to talk about. Eventually, I was invited into an international oil and gas company to help. In fact, many foreign engineers find their voice, strategize their message, and really stand up on stage and speak in a way that allowed their value and contribution to be heard. Who was it? Oh, Escarle was talking about going to the what was the name of the shop? The sandwich shop? In the subway, right? And everyone, why do we? Well, I had the reverse thing where I experienced that as a non-native Spanish speaker. I had gone on an appointment and walk in and this gentleman says, oh, hola, ¿cómo tú estás? I literally was like, what? La 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 la. That's all I heard. And he said, I thought you spoke Spanish. And I said, well, I thought I did too. And then he started to explain to me what the difference. He said, oh, you're from the border. You probably know ¿Cómo estás? And it's about 20,000 times slower and blah, blah, blah. And I started to realize, you know, the sounds of our world are so diverse, especially English. But no matter what story we carry, no matter what we think about the people in front of us, we are of value, and your voice matters. I will tell you, as a singer, no one will ever have your voice. That's incredible to me. In all of the spectrum of humanity, no one will ever have your voice. And no one will ever have your unique talents in the way that you hold them. And it's a very specific thing that is built into the purpose of who you are and who you're meant to be and what your contribution could be. So if we were to look at all of humanity as a ginormous mosaic, each one is a very specific tile. Your voice, your story, your talents, and what you have to share is beyond important, especially in the time that we live in now. We need to hear from you. So I fully believe, do the work to get quiet. Why? Listening is the key. Not even active listening. That's from the mind. Listening from your spirit and heart helps you to see what is that statement of value you have to share in service-driven communication. Why? Because we always can bring something to the table that allows us to be bigger and better together. But if we stay quiet, if we sit in shame, if we sit in fear, those wonderful and resonant truths and contribution cannot make it into the room where they can become a reality. And it's very exciting to me to sit here with so many amazing women, everyone resonant with each other, everyone contributing to each other. And it makes me want to say thank you to people like Susan B. Anthony. Now, I remember a play that I saw when I was a kid, and I was so amazed because in a time where women didn't have a seat at the table, and it wasn't even acceptable for women to have a seat at the table or do something like vote, she stood And she was one of the biggest fighters for human suffrage, for women's rights. And because of her, we can do something in this country that is called vote, which is something that many women around the world still have not had the pleasure of doing. So let us look and remember the strength of which she shared her belief, accepting the way things were, but living from a vision that she carried in her heart and speaking purposefully, being a stand and never selling out on what she believed to be so. And as a result of that, we live inside of a day where we can vote. And now it's time to rise again together. You matter. Your voice matters. You are beautiful. You have something incredible to share. Please speak up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariam. That was beautiful. And we love your voice. We love to hear you. Now we have Carmen Herrada. Carmen has a lot to say because she's very passionate about this. So go for your capsule. Share with us all you'd like to.
Yeah, so thank you, Mayte. I mean, this is not fair because I am with the two specialists in communication. So, okay, I'll do my best. So what I would like to share with you is about the evolution of the leadership or the role model that the society is following. So Mayte mentioned that I wanted to share about servant leadership. What I would like to start saying that everyone is talking about women on power, women on board. We need more women in board seats, and it's something more than that. It's more that when I'm not at all, but when I was a kid, I mean the parents were teaching kids like okay, men, the boys, they have to be more commanding. They have to be like focusing on goals, results. They have to be winners. When I was a kid, they were like, okay, you have to be sweet. You have to be like taking care of others. So that evolved. That when nowadays we are changing that concept. But when we always when we were thinking about leaders, we were picturing a man. We were picturing somebody who is like, hey, I need to get it, results, profits, revenues. But nowadays, thanks to many other things, but even it's one of the collateral results as well of COVID. We are seeing an evolution of that leadership role. We are companies, societies, even organizations like the Hispanic Institute. We are evolving to a type of servant leadership, who is like, we want to do something for our team. We want to do something for the society. And seriously, this is the best moment for women because we were told like 20 years ago or 30 years ago to be caring. We have a high emotional intelligence, listen to others. And now is the time to really develop our skills. So when a bit about my background, so I'm from Spain, my accent. But I studied in Belgium, I moved to Asia for 15 years, and I was always trying to emulate men when I was on the table. Okay, he screams, so I scream. He does that, so I do like that. And now what I'm seeing on the boards in my profession, when I see leaders, they try to emulate women. Like, hey, how are you? So they try to really be more caring. So I'm proud and I'm happy to see this evolution that the society is becoming more caring. And I empower everyone to help and support others, because this is what is going to take us to the next level.
Bravo. Thank you to all three of you ladies. I thought you were going to talk more, Carmen.
Oh, okay. I can talk more. I'm just checking the time.
The idea was a capsule. Una cápsula that then we were going to take snippets and then share them throughout the whole month, of the entire Women's Month. So thank you very much. Now we move into the part of our program with 3 new speakers. 2 of them are keynote speakers, but first of all, we have another board member who's going to share with us a little bit of diverse view, the power of the community. And I'd like to introduce to you Adrian Duenas, CEO of B Design. We just share a microphone that's.
I love the water. Oh, okay.
Do you want to sanitize
Where
this?
do you want What do you want?
Right there, just sí. O parado.
Oh.
No.
Yeah, so many things. Thank God we have time.
Okay. So. Okay, beautiful. Okay. Okay, great.
I'd like to.
All right. Well, I am so excited to now be standing here, although those are mighty big shoes to fill, with our own Mayte, who just puts her heart and soul into the Institute and everything she does. I am very inspired by you, and it's such a pleasure to be here with you. So, Adrian, I am personally excited to hear from you because I understand that you have a very special talent.
I have many talents. First of all, thank you so much. I'm happy International Women's Day. This is an honor, especially when you get invited to a women who support women. So it was very hard for me to try to approach the right fact and the right way to embrace all this. And I don't know if it's a talent. It's something like you do with your beautiful voice that comes naturally. I love people. I love communicating, and I love connecting one another. I do have several companies and several businesses around the world. Spain, Ecuador. My mom's from Ecuador. My dad was from Spain, and I live in New York and moved here. And obviously, it's furniture, marketing, and I studied public relations. And what you're referring to is the ability that I suddenly had to have an amazing network, starting from people you never expected that's going to come to your life, men, women, and it has been a great journey.
Wonderful. Well, I understand we might give you the title, the Connections Whisperer.
Oh my God.
It's an amazing, but I think it's very important for us to learn from you. Do you have any tips that you could give us?
Well, to be honest, it comes from my heart, but now it's all about you ladies today. And I am here thrilled to tell you that personal things that I am also board member of the AIDS Foundation. I was a member of the Elton John's AIDS Foundation as well. And I may not know what to be a woman is, obviously, but I don't know what a discrimination is. I know what is being treated different. I know what is to have to act or pretend, as Carmen was saying. I don't know where Carmen is. As Carmen was saying, that it's you try to be somebody else to try to fit in, and I think that's the worst thing you can do. I was with a lovely lady in LA maybe 8 years ago, and this is a personal story. And it was we're about with my husband to move here to Houston. And she said, listen, and I was like very nice with this person, and just because I talk and I like wine as well. So this person says, you know what, we're in a very fancy event in a private house in LA, and I didn't know she was important or not. I didn't know she was rich or poor. I didn't know I didn't know what religion she had. I didn't know what sexual orientation she had. I didn't know anything. I was just being nice. And I was enjoying the party. And she's like, you know what? I want you to help me out. So I was talking about the furniture. I want you to help me out with something that is gonna that you're gonna love, and we're gonna do. There's a private room in the party, and I want you to meet somebody. And she takes me there out of being nice, and she introduced me to David Furnish, which is Elton John's husband, and that's how I started with my husband to do the Oscar parties, the design, along with BBVA, the bank, which it's amazing, and I'm filling some big shoes because an amazing lady from BBVA was supposed to talk today, and I was talking with Ray, and they were like, I'm very happy that I'm doing it. So this as a tip or a personal experience is like, no matter who you talk to, no matter how fancy shoes or purses they wear, no matter, you never know who you're talking to and who are gonna lead you to. And if you are genuine, if you are exactly what you want to be, or exactly what you're trying to be as a goal, that notice. And I tell my single friends, single girlfriends, whatever you're in the look of it is like a shield. And I know you all have had those moments that, oh wait, let's go, and it's, whenever somebody gets divorced or somebody's single, and you can perceive, it's like a sense. It's like a, I don't know if it's a scent, it's the smell, it's the vibe. The same with what you're projecting. If you come out nice to everybody, because I would like to come and tell you, okay, this is a PowerPoint presentation on how to be successful and start networking, and then you'll meet all the Hollywood stars. No, that's not the reality. That's not how it works. It comes purely, it comes naturally.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I think that was a great advice, right? And so, Adrian, I understand that you've contributed a lot to the community as well. And so we all here at the Institute have something that we've received from you, being in the board. Women are receiving so much from you today. What is one thing that you would want to share with the people that are listening? If you were not afraid to do anything, what might that thing be that you would further contribute to the world?
I think that we're very lucky, and I have to tell you, and I hope that this will never be edited because this is a whole sentence. When I moved from Madrid or from any of the big places to Texas, I thought that was going to be burned alive. Two big guys coming to a very conservative place. And when we live here, we have never found more welcoming, nice, and open-minded people in the world. With all the respect, forget about Madrid, which is a pioneer in human rights, and I love it. This is such a welcoming place. If we could have, first of all, not judge of where you're going, because I have my judgmentals about Texas. Oh my God, what are they going to say? We're never going to fit in, and we did. But if I could contribute, I hope we can do something. We are in a great place, and we have a lot to do here in Houston. But if you said the world, I hope those things are banned, like, the Arab countries where women are not supposed to do certain things. You guys are so lucky, even though you wear masks right now because of COVID, but you can go outside and have an amazing miniskirt and show what you have. Some people don't have that. I can tell you that I have a husband here, and nobody is like, oh my God. And if we could spread that to the entire world to make a better world, all of us together as one, it will be so much easier, and it will be so much love, and we'll be just having dreams and judging people by the car they drive and not by the by what they are. That would be my main goal.
Beautiful. So the one thing I heard was love, be kind, include, right? And I think so. We've gotten so many beautiful things today from Adrian, and I hope that you all will remember. He gave us the essence of personal brand and networking and communication. Be yourself, be your heart, and love, right? And include others, and beautiful things will simply happen, right? So we thank Adrian Duenas, CEO of Be Design and board member for the Institute. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. Now, are they staying? Okay, all right. So I'd like to invite Luz Damaris Rosario, please, to come on up. And we have with us the general manager. Okay. For Goya.
Thank you so much. Well, I was invited to talk a little bit about my professional journey, and I'm very honored to be here and humbled to share this story of my life with you guys. My professional journey started at Goya Foods in Puerto Rico, little more than 36 years ago. And this year, Goya is celebrating its 85th anniversary, by the way. and since was established in New York by Spanish immigrant Don Prudencio Unana. Well, my first degree is in chemistry, and I started working in the very, very basic position as a formulation chemist in Puerto Rico. And by the way, I'm very happy because this year it is the first time that two chemists, women, won the Nobel Prize as being the first woman research team that won the Nobel Prize. So this is breaking a glass ceiling. So as a chemist, I feel very, very proud for that. I come from humble roots. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. I'm one of 5 of children at home, and my parents raised us with a lot of values, with a lot of love, protection, principles, ethics, especially value for education, where she mentioned. And that made up my character. I clearly understood that to reach my goals, I had to put them into actions. How? So first, education. They taught us that education was the key to look for opportunities in our life. And that's what I did. I completed my degree in chemistry. I looked for a job. And once I was working, I was in Goya. I got fascinated with the science behind the food. As time passed, I started looking at growing opportunities within my workplace. And I realized at a young age that opportunities not always come. You have to create your opportunities. So I approached in that moment the president in Puerto Rico, Don Frank Unane, the late Don Frank Unane, which was a great mentor for me, that I would like to take advantage of a scholarship program the company has to pursue my master in my MBA. Because I envisioned myself overseeing one of the Goya facilities one day. And that's what I did. I looked for that opportunity. I completed my degree, and I started receiving promotions. And 36 years later, I'm the general manager of one of the biggest operations here in Texas. And you do not frequently see women, unless a Latina, being a head of manufacturing plant. But I envisioned that, and I worked very hard for that. In order to grow in any company, you cannot expect it comes automatically and easy. It is like the stages, like you have to start crawling, walking, then you run. So you have to work hard for that. My motto is love what you are doing, and what you might do it with total enthusiasm, so your attitude rubs on those around you. There are not greater forces than this, love and enthusiasm. They are the spark that in turn lights creativity. There's no secrets. If you want to pursue something, you have to educate, you have to maintain continuous education to keep updated, the hard work, especially learn to be a team member, because you do not work by yourself. And the most important for me, the respect and the love. Respect for yourself, love for yourself. So in that way, you being able to love and respect other people. And my advice is, don't try to compete with your male counterparts. Just compete with yourself. And that's the way that you will bring the best of you. Today is the International Women's Day, and I would like to recognize all the wonderful women which touch our life. All our mothers, sisters, grandmas, workmates, and not only the great women, but in my case, I have so many great mentors, especially men, my father, some bosses like Don Frank Unane, the late Don Frank Unane, and Bob Unane, who were my mentors. Those people touched my life in a very special way and made me a better woman and a better professional. So my recognition for them as well. Thank you so much.
That was amazing. I feel very inspired to go and rise further and learn something new. Thank you for all of your hard work. Next, we have Sofia Adrogué, who is the trial partner for Diamond McCarthy LLP. Now, I'm very excited because this woman has done amazing things in her life. She is a voice for diversity, women, and rising to the top. Sofia, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Greetings, and I'm truly incredibly honored. State of the Women, IHC style. Congratulations, first of all, to Mayte, Sera Weitzman, President, and Carmen Herrada, President-elect, and I thank you. I really resonated with a litany of the stories, whether it's the accent, I had it, and I had it seriously. I remember it wasn't Subway because it was many years ago, but I had those moments. I also remember being a voracious reader. I won every single contest at the library all summers. We couldn't afford much, but I could afford to go to the library, and I did it with a vengeance. I also very much appreciate Luz's commentary about hard work. I've often said, when I die, I will be thoroughly used up, because the harder I work, the more I live. I inordinately appreciate the happiness aspect. And what you do, you have to define, and it has to come from within. I appreciate tremendously that on this International Women's Day, which I will discuss momentarily, the mission and vision of the United Nations and others, that we have to be thankful for our mothers, for our fathers, for our daughters and others around us. Absolutely. So here we are. Indulge me as I will spend a few moments telling you a little bit about where we've been, what we have to do to survive, a litany of complications because of COVID and things, but I promise you, bear with me. It's a strong number of statistics, and it's a journey. But I promise you, you're going to have to survive a little, but we're going to come out thriving. We have no choice. So, as I walk you through the trajectory, as we try to survive but thrive, let's start looking back, because we have to. 2020, formidable. The continued ramifications of the COVID-19 global pandemic, as we stand on the shoulders of trailblazers, some of whom we heard today, and we epitomize and listen to the words, because it's a permutation of what Luz just talked about. It's about grind, it's about grit, and it's about gravitas. And as we look forward, and thank you for mentioning the city of Houston, I think it is a prophetic city. Dr. Kleinberg from Rice University has talked about the prophetic city because it is at the cusp of a changing America. What does that really mean? Prophetic, i.e. like the prophet, because Houston, Texas, as we stand today, epitomized, it is the paradigm of diversity. Diversity being what we in essence are, what the United States will be in 40 years, in terms of Latinos, Asians, African Americans, and all of us coming together. I very much believe if we stand together, that there will be normalcy and success. Maybe not defined exactly as we see it today, has in the past, but we will accomplish it. Let's speak for a moment about International Women's Day, then we'll talk about statistics, and we'll go to the future with a vengeance and optimism. International Women's Day that Luz discussed, she's absolutely correct. It is a global day, and we're to celebrate the social, economic, and cultural and political achievements of women. The day also marks a call to action for accelerating gender parity with significant activity that's being witnessed worldwide. I surmise, like you, I was deluged with messages early on from a litany of languages about the message of empowerment. What is the campaign's theme for the International Women's Day 2021? This is important, and let's all internalize it and see what we can do with it. It is choose to challenge. Why choose to challenge? Because a challenged world is an alert world, and from challenge comes change. I know we are all inordinately exhausted of the word change, because of course, 2020, it was all about change. It was epic, it was historic, draconian, annus horribilis, whatever word you want to utilize. It was mentally, physically, economically exhausting, and obviously in the United States, we have the galvanizing watershed movement in racial and social justice. Now, let's talk for a moment. These are difficult statistics, but if we're going to be challenged to then try to change, we have to listen to the statistics, because men and women have been affected. Women have been truly affected. So indulge me, don't worry, I'll end in a high. But listen and walk us through this together. First of all, although the tumultuous road of 2020 may be over, the pandemic and the significant financial and societal insecurity primarily facing women and our families is not. The COVID crisis has led to Vice President Harris recently calling our job losses a national emergency. Women are already at a disadvantage in pay and promotions, and our progress in the labor force, decades in the making, may have been erased by the recession that has been termed a she-cession. Why? When the lockdown began last spring, the exodus of mothers from paid work was fast and large. I'm literally getting goosebumps because this is so troubling. Mothers were much more likely than fathers to have to leave work because of school closures and caregiving responsibilities. By April of 2020, nearly half of the mothers living with school-aged children had no choice but to stop and pause and regroup and try to figure out how they were going to survive. Of course, the unemployment data doesn't provide a full picture of the challenges that women face in the work world. However, since the onset of the pandemic, 400,000 more women than men have left the workforce. According to the 2020 Women in the Workplace study, co-authored by McKinsey and Lean Organization, 1 out of every 4 women either have contemplated or have left the workforce and having to downshift their career. These are not women that wanted to make these decisions. These were decisions made for them because of the reality of what's transpired. There's a statistic that says as many as 2 million women may have to leave corporate America. Corporate America absolutely amorphously and widely defined. Because every step that we can take and every injection of income, whether it's working at the subway or anyone else, makes a difference to the family. McKinsey and Oxford Economics estimate that employment for women may not recover the pre-pandemic levels until 2024. That is 2 full years after the expected recovery for men. Without significant action, as first recognition and dialogue, and I commend you for allowing me to have this difficult conversation. Because if we're not talking about it, if we are not supportive of the mom that doesn't really want to be home dealing with the Zoom on and Zoom off, that a year ago was economically empowered at whatever level, then we're not doing anything. We have to engage. So I thank you for this. And then we need to focus on the training, the advocacy, because if not, there's a real danger that the female labor force participation could face its steepest sustained decline since World War II. Women of color, and don't worry, stay with me, I'm getting positive, but a few more statistics, we're getting there. Women of color have faced a more extreme nexus of challenges during the pandemic. Latinas have experienced some of the worst outcomes in the recession. At its height, 20.1% of us in April 2020 were unemployed. And this won't surprise you that Hispanic women face unemployment at a level more than double of Hispanic men. So many drivers of this disparity, we've lived them. I don't need to tell you, but I'll walk you through them. They need to be doing the shopping, the cooking. I couldn't do the cooking, sorry Goya. That's why, thank God I have great things. I can make a mean cup of coffee, that's about it. The cleaning, I clean. Taking care of the kids and the parents and everything else. Disproportionately carried by women. Pre-COVID, women on average already did twice as much of the unpaid care. The COVID crisis has added a more uneven addition. I'm trying to go quickly. There's so much I could say. The headline, not like a year ago. This was a few weeks ago. Lost jobs, less pay, no child care, a year into the pandemic. Women are not okay. That's where the love, that's where the kindness, that's where everything we've heard today makes a difference. Let's add further to complexity before I promise I'll end on a high. We also have the concern and the issue of education. Absolutely. If you have the luxury of education, if you have the luxury like I did, being able to come here and focusing on studying and getting to go on a full scholarship to Rice and then to law school, etc., that makes a difference. The same scenario that's played out all over the country is not quite as strong and as intense if you have the luxury in education. And that's a luxury. Because we all want to be educated. We just don't always have the luxury to do it. A theme also for today's is women in leadership achieving an equal future in a COVID-19 world. And that's important because there's challenges, but there are challenges in a COVID-19 world. Given the damage that is extended and the unemployment gap, we have an opportunity for entities like Goya and others to take bold and targeted actions. What's the synopsis of what we've heard? We've heard about setback. We've heard about the need to have second and third shifts. We've had an outsized toll, particularly in the Hispanic and the African American community. And the predictive factors, because we appreciate this. But if we can work on the investment of women, the creation of durable social safety nets, a child care system, and strong place protections, there's an opportunity to step up. With sustainability, allyship, I like that, being allies of each other, the friendship, the support, the flexibility, and the leadership. Now let me say the following. This is not all, yes, absolutely am passionate about servant leadership, but as with everything in life, there's a bottom line. So where's the bottom line? This is the beauty of what I'm advocating for. As I then turn to the city of Houston and give us all a call to action. There is clear financial case for gender equality. We all know this, and the stock market bears it out. Board participation bears it out, as you know so well. Companies are more profitable, including better stock price performance with female CEOs and CFOs. Companies are more collaborative and more inclusive when they hire women. True gender equality in pay, experts say, would increase the gross national product in the United States by 26%. These are formidable, these are real, and if nothing doesn't effectuate a change, the bottom line number should. Let's not forget our beloved city. I was so ecstatic that our fearless male talked about the city of Houston, because our city is a bellwether in the history of women's history's movement. Did you know that in 1977, the very first international conference on women's rights and equality took place in Houston, Texas? Did you know right there where the Theater Under the Stars tots, one-day road trip, we'll all go there. After pandemic, we'll all go there and take a picture. Indeed, it was called the Spirit of Houston, captivated 2,000 delegates and 32,000 women strong. Dignitaries traveled to the conference in Houston. First Ladies Rosalind Carter, Lady Bird Johnson, Betty Ford, Coretta Scott King. Texas Congresswoman and Houston native Barbara Jordan delivered the keynote address, and Maya Angelou talked about the Declaration of Sentiments. It's no accident, of course, that Houston was co-founded by a woman. Did you know that? Charlotte Baldwin Allen. Yes, thus homage with a Baldwin Hotel. Baldwin foresaw that her beloved city's name. Did she know that that would be the first word spoken on the moon? She allegedly proposed it in her honor of her neighbor, Sam Houston. We also have in Houston the largest and most significant women's chamber in the country. the Greater Houston Women's Chamber of Commerce. So what's our call to action as we are all here and we're doing this? Dialogue across the nation and globally today, of course first with the selection of Vice President Harris, reminds us all of having the importance of the seat at the table. It need not be the boardroom table. It can be the seat at the table in our own home. When we are preparing something, we must be in the room. And we need to empower everyone to feel that they can be in the room. It doesn't matter what you look like, what you sound like. We have to work overtime to make our voices heard and get credit for our contributions. We know that. We also know there's no free ride to the top, however the top is defined. It need not be reaching some of the heights that many of these women and this gentleman have reached today. You define your height and just reach it. And then your credentials and your message is amplified. Particularly during these uncharted, unprecedented times of social and economic upheaval with a mental health and a physical pandemic, I have tried to adhere to this acronym, and it's called SHAPE. It is not about exercise. People that know me know that I would rather drink coffee and not eat for days than exercise. So it is not about exercising for me. But it's the SHAPE acronym. What is it? S, startup mentality. Startup, you have to hustle. The immigrant spirit in us. Even if you're fourth, fifth generation, it's that getting up in the morning, it's the hunger. There's no choice. The human at the core. Don't forget the connectivity. Don't forget the kindness and the love. So the S, the H, the A, the acceleration of the digital tech and analytics. We have no choice at some level. You need not to be engaged in total social media, but you need to be cognizant of all this around. So I commend the organization for making sure it's live streamed. So hopefully others can hear and then spread the word. And then you have to have a purpose-driven customer playbook and ecosystem, i.e. the leadership with a moral compass. I think we must all endeavor to keep our pipeline full as the spirit of Houston continues. International Women's Day is not a country, a group, nor organization specific. It's not a government, it's not an NGO, it's not a charity, it's not a corporation, an academic institution, a women's network, or a media hub. No one is solely responsible for International Women's Day. The day belongs to groups. It belongs to all of us, collectively everywhere. Gloria Steinem, who came to Houston in 1977 and many times post. And by the way, she found 1977 in Houston so powerful that if you read one of her best books, she talks about she literally sees the women's movement in the United States as pre-Houston and post-Houston. This is the gravitas of our prophetic, beloved city. She talks about the stories of women's struggle for equality belongs not to one single feminist, not to any one organization, but to the collective efforts of all of us who care about human rights. Women's rights are human rights. So I encourage you to make Women's Day your day. Whatever it is to make a positive difference for your mom, your sister, your sibling, your daughter, your colleague. Let's all choose to challenge. I would say, here's to all of our Houston's trailblazers, our luminaries, our audience, those who joined us, our fellow colleagues across the country and the world, particularly being recognized today. We all epitomize, every one of us, the necessary grind, grit, and gravitas. Con ánimo, energía, espíritu y suerte, la lucha continúa. Muchísimas gracias.
Wow. Well, I get to close a program going after Sophia, which is not easy to do. But I just thank everyone. I thank all of the wonderful people who participated in today. It's our first one. I think we will continue to get better, but take to heart what we learned today. And I'm going to just leave you with a few things that I believe make us who we are. We are kind, and we are loving, and we are the mothers. The Latinas are the ones who take care of everyone in the home. If we are okay, the rest of the house is okay. We need to make sure that that's the case, because if mami is good, todos están bien. Women can make the world a brighter place. So as I represent the Institute of Hispanic Culture here today, and of course, my beloved Goya foods, let's embrace art, culture, what makes us full of joy, what gives us that feeling that we can share with the world, those things that make our laugh contagious. We are created in a very special way. No one can represent us better than ourselves. So each woman has a purpose. We should love and support one another, like is the theme today that I look at Carmen, that she set. And I thank you all for listening, for watching, for sharing. If you're not a member of the Institute, join and call us. If you've got an idea of something that we need to share for other women, for our younger generations, join us. We need people to help. I have tons of ideas sitting there. We could put Sophia in front of so many people. We can have Miriam sing and teach us how to have our voices heard. Well, it's important because everything that was said, we can take to heart. The mindfulness, the looking at yourself, the preparation that Adriana added, and then that power and that absolute, it's just simply what makes women impactful, important, compassionate, gentle, loving, and simplemente nosotras. Thank you for joining us. Thank you everyone for being here, and please share.